Amit Pradhan, sitting on the rooftop, and I said that I'm going. I'm a bit nervous, and I'm not sure whether I'll get this job or not. And he told me, saying that you know what, you are in college, what courage you have. Go get it done. Get the job and come back and tell me that you got the job. Jay is something who reminded me my father. He was very, I wouldn't say angry person. I was always fearful when I saw Jay. He was from Ireland. He was very straightforward. He was very good at his work, and you have to face through him. He was an exec leader, and I was very, very afraid.
Hi guys, welcome to our episode 3 of Not So Famous of Tushar's story. We know his child struggles by now. Pivot again when you saw that 1 lakh,
1 lakh paycheck.
per paycheck
Taj
of
Hotel.
Taj Hotel
And I
of
was
the
doing most of the
consultant.
work.
Yeah, where he was doing most of the work.
Exactly.
And then you thought that software is my go,
Yeah.
right? I have to do software consulting
True.
right now. So when you see these kind of things, right? If I put myself in that place, it comes to me that I have to do a lot of work. I have to learn a lot of things right now because what I was doing was more on the PLC side of things.
True.
Now it is completely different software kind of things. While you were able to work on Access, this guy would be knowing a bit more. So talk me to this journey. It gets very interesting now. So from PLC based engineering to software, how did you make that transition? What made you make that transition? Who helped you make that transition?
True. Before I do that, a disclaimer for my future employers. Please don't take that as not a hiring decision for me, because wherever I've gone, I've done phenomenal things and brought success, right? So this is, and I'm going to do that. And if you don't hire me, you might make me a co-founder soon. So exactly.
That was a very good pitch.
Exactly. So let me talk about a little bit about that pivotal journey. So that's where I learned that, I talked about that how the other person was making money. I wanted to see that career, right? Saying that this is good. Why were thinking that I would make 30,000 in 30-year-old? No, he's making 1 lakh already. He's like few years older than me. And this is where I said that this is what I started learning a little bit more what all those things were, like unstructured learning. In this case, what happened, then I started looking at this career. I was started to applying jobs and all those things. I wanted to go to a job which kind of enhances me this career. How it was to be, I learned that manufacturing and supply chain is my passion, and this related software is kind of helping me because I understood the manufacturing process very deeply, supply chain process very deeply in this job. So I started applying. So one time, one time I got a call, I got an email saying, and then when I opened the email, I was very, very surprised. It was from Ford Motor Company. Ford was like, Fortune 500, the second biggest manufacturing company in the world, General Motors and Ford. I thought maybe it's a scam, but it was really from Ford.com. I said, who is going to send? And they said that, oh, we are looking for this kind of job, where we need your business expertise and also manufacturing expertise to come and do some kind of hybrid job. It was more of a business analyst job that time. So I was basically from core manufacturing to a system/business analyst kind of role that they were looking at. So I decided to apply for that job. I sent them a resume. 2 days after, I got a call from Ford's recruiter.
Wow.
And I was still very courageous and sometimes very stupid also. And I got the call from the Ford recruiter. I don't know what happened. I thought I'll show some swag that I am a very important person. As if I had 10 years of experience. I said them, I'm in middle of a meeting in office. Can you call me after 2 hours? And they said gently, okay, yes. I was actually absolutely free. I was not doing anything. I went by the window because I didn't want anybody to hear that, I'm some recruiter.
Did it freak you out later? Like, why did I do
Yeah,
that?
absolutely. And I was like, what the heck you have done? They're not going to call you. Your resume says you have 1 year experience. And somehow, luckily, they didn't call me that day. The next day they called me. I said I was ruined it. So I got the call next day. And I was like, yes, I'm very interested that time. Of course, I cannot do stupidity next time. I said, I'm going to go attend this interview. And a fun fact that I didn't never board a flight before that. Because, of course,
it takes time.
Who would find flight tickets were amazingly expensive. That time, a Mumbai to Chennai flight costed 16,000 one way. 16,000 rupees
that
one
time,
way.
16,000 was a lot of
Yeah,
money.
I'm talking about 2003s or early 2004s. And this guy said that, okay, you have been selected for the interview. Initial telephonic interview was good. You can come. We'll pay your expenses. We'll pay your flight ticket, etc. So I can beg my father a little bit money, and I got that because it's reimbursed afterwards. So he gave me 20,000. So I bought my 16,000 rupees flight ticket. And I headed to, and the job was in Chennai. was like, am I going from Mumbai to Chennai, right? So I said, okay, it's nothing. It's a first flight ticket. I was very afraid how to navigate in the airport, etc. How do you sit? Oh, all the seat it's taking off. You put the seat belt, whatever it is. Is it going to crash somewhere? Like all this fun were there. A first time flight. But I had my swag. I was like, okay, what food is that? Bring me on. Exactly. All these things. I was having fun talking to people in the next seat and all these things as if I'm a regular
Frequent flyer.
Exactly, frequent flyer. So then I landed, and then there's nobody talking in Chennai. How do you go to this? So somehow, like so at the I can. One good thing was in me that I connect with people. I talk to everybody. I become humble when I talk to people because it's not just acting. It's genuinely I'm interested in people, right? So even though I had a language barrier, I knew something. I'll go to an auto guy and say that Anna, I want to go. And when you say Anna, that kind of hits them. They say that okay, this guy has come in, is like young guy is trying to look a job, and they will help you. So they took me in an auto. They took me to the place where the staying arrangements were done. And then I went for the next day interview to Ford, which was outskirts. It's Maraimal Nagar. It's an industrial area. Now these areas are very, very hot, but that time it was really outskirts.
I know Sri Perumbudur.
Sri Perumbudur, and there's factories and all those things, and that is where I actually went for my interview, right? So there was they told me that they hired for 5 positions, similar 5 positions. I went, and that the next day we went to the. I went to the factory. It was in the factory. Factory was amazing. First time entering a gigantic factory just gives you adrenaline rush.
That's actually, it was a big factory. Now it has been shut down. It is huge.
It is a huge factory. And when I went to the interview room after checking in and all those things, I said 5 positions, and there are like 300 people there. And I was probably only had one person who was 1 year experience. I decided that okay, very good, thank you, Lord. First free flight, first stay. I'm gonna go see Chennai here and there. And then go home. I'm not going to get this job, right? Whenever I talk to some people within that interview room, everybody has 5+ years of experience minimum. And it was a very strict interview. It has got multiple written tests, then multiple interviews and all those things. Everything happened. So first thing, I cleared the written test. First, thankfully, I went to the interviews, and they said that go home. We'll let you know. I roam around a little bit in Chennai and all those things. And then I went back to Mumbai and continued my job. And after 1 week, we got our first call that I have been selected.
So now you got into Ford.
Yeah.
So tell me, how did you move from here?
Yeah. So one interesting story in Ford also before getting the job. When I was coming for the Ford interview, I was a bit vulnerable, whatever is personal situation, a lot of pressure to succeed and all those things. And one of my friend, his name is Amit Pradhan, sitting on the rooftop, and I said that I'm a bit nervous, and I'm not sure whether I'll get this job or not. And he told me, saying that what, you are in college, what courage you have, go get it done, get the job, and come back and tell me that you got the job. अगर वो नहीं किया, so तुमसे बड़ा कोई नहीं है. He said me, and that hit me. He said that no, I mean he's looking me up as a leader, and he told me I've got to do something. So coming back again, so thank you, Amit. I always remember this aspect. And during after I got the job, it was time to move back from Mumbai. There's a lot of fear coming to a land where the language is not. But I was up for the challenge, saying that I like spicy food. I grew up in Andhra border in my engineering college. I love the spicy food. I'm going to go explore a new place. Heat was not a problem for me because I'm from Odisha. It was not a problem for me. And then I went to Chennai. By the way, when I got the Ford job, my salary kind of from 1,40,000 for the 12,000 I was making that time, I got 3.5 lakhs. So it was more than double that time.
Wow, that's a good jump.
From the campus job. I was very happy. My family was very proud because I got from one big company to another big company, from Jabil Circuits, from Celltronics Jabil Circuits to another Fortune 500 company. I was very proud that my intermediate scores didn't impact that time. My experience and how I was able to project and clear all those things, the practical experience kind of it further strengthened that by studying a lot of bookish language doesn't matter. If you have done the job in ground, you know them deep. There's no one who will not appreciate you. Right? So they cannot go unnoticed because your confidence also comes with that, right? So because you have done that 5 times probably in your life. So I got the job and I moved there, and I basically again started renting in a place and then started commuting to Ford job. It was an amazing career at Ford because that factory experience, the first time food was on the house, actually free food. Oh my God, factory had amazing canteens and everything was on the house. It starts from my favorite delicious South Indian breakfast, right from dosa to idli and all those stuff, vada. nice tea and coffees and all those things, I started feeling a little privileged that I've got this job. But I still had to learn a lot. I was very, very aspirational. That was not stopping that day. So, and then Ford has long commutes because you see, stay in
Yeah,
the
it's
city.
quite far
So
actually from this.
I took up an apartment in, it's called a place called Tiruvanmiyur. If you know a famous actor called Ajit and Shalini, I was just living right in front of their house in a small apartment.
Oh, you stayed in that Seaward Road?
Yes, Stewart Road.
In my engineering, we used to stay in Tirvanmure, and we used
Stewart
to stay
Road.
in first Seaward
And the
Road.
beach was like, a
Walking
2-3
distance.
minutes walk,
Yeah.
right? So it was a kind of a private beach. So that gave me a new kick. Language was not an issue. And I look up to Tamilian friends, right? So even though there was integrity issues, because just by sheer interest in culture and knowing them, I had phenomenal friends, Tamilian friends, who taught me a little here and there Tamil also. I still remember those days when they were teaching me some stupid stuff,
Man,
and I was
world is so small. I stayed in Tirvanmure like for 2 years. We used to stay in first Seaward Road. There was a Singapore Shoppy.
there was Singapore Shoppy as well.
We used to
Yeah.
stay in that straight road actually. Oh,
Absolutely. So Chennai was a lot of fun, right? So I got to know culture.
Mhm.
There was a lot of fun events. Like my friends used to teach me a lot of rough stuff here and there, and I was to tell to my manager Janaki Ratna, and Janaki used to laugh because she was like, "What are you telling? Who taught you all these things?" I said, "I didn't know. You guys, your team only taught me." So we used to have a lot of fun. So that time, I kind of coming back to career, I started doing a little bit of pivotal job, where my job was part-time business analyst, part-time that business software, ERP software we're implementing.
got it.
Right. So, and that's where I got integrated more into software, and I was doing actually a hybrid job of software, bit of software engineering, bit of business analyst. So that's where I thought that now I'm heading into the right direction. I chose my path. I'm sticking to the path. I did enough research, and I have a goal. I'm gonna push forward, because you cannot be every 10 different things. I want to be an actor. I want to be a coder. I want to be doing this. I want to be a PPM. No, I knew my path where I'm going. So basically, that time I wanted to go into software side, in the product side, and I was getting an industry expert in manufacturing and supply chain software in that case. So past 1 year in Ford, and again, one more person played a very big role in my life. His name is Raghu Pitambaran. So Raghu, was my mentor, was my senior, who actually has the role to integrate me at Ford, and he was transitioning his role, so he handed over his role. So I was basically, when I joined that, I was a complete manufacturing program manager for Ford Endeavor.
Got it.
So, and he was moving to Ford Icon manufacturing that time. So Endeavor was the largest SUV Ford was selling. So I was in charge for the entire manufacturing, not just that, but entire software related to that.
Got it.
In terms of business software and implementation, that was like a hybrid role that we were kind of doing. So during that, Raghu was very, very big industry expert in terms of this manufacturing and supply chain software. And he really liked me because I brought that passion. I told him that I did this, I want to do this. So he recognized that. He taught me a few things. I asked him a lot of proactive stuff. Kerala guy is very good. He's a mentor, he's like a brother. And he cracked a job in Oracle that time. At that time in 2004-ish, Oracle was like Google. And Google
Yeah,
was there, but it was not that popular. Oracle was, if you are getting a job in Oracle, you are someone else, right?
Absolutely,
So
absolutely.
that badge was like, very, very valuable that time. So that time Raghu got a job as a product manager at Oracle, and he moved on to there. But while going there, I said him that, please coach me. I want similar career like you. Please coach me. I want to be there. So after a few months, Raghu left. He said that we have a position. I said, who will hire me in Oracle? Is such big company, who will hire me? I don't even have true software experience. I said, Raghu, why don't you give me an year, and I just do a little more here and be expert and go there. Then that guy told something that impacted me quite a lot. Raghu said that, you're fortunate I'm arranging an interview for you, right? So I have talked to my manager. Suparna was my manager. Suparna Chincholi, he's in Bangalore. Suparna has been a wonderful manager, also played a good role in my life. So that time he said that I talked to Suparna, and you can come for an interview, and exactly off-campus type of interview, and you go through a lot of process. I told that, no, I don't feel confident enough. He said that, what are you going to lose, Tushar? You come for this interview. At the end, if you don't make the interview, you know what your gaps are. You are basically solidifying within the next 1 year. I'm going to coach you how to strengthen these things. So that gave me a courage. That is my second flight trip. in my life was free flight. Oracle played a thank you Oracle by giving me a good hotel and giving me a flight trip.
But this brings in a different perspective, right? This is specifically for people or youngsters who are watching a channel, right? Now, when you face a similar kind of situation, you might want to look back to what it did. Like I have faced a similar situation where I was afraid. I honestly faced it during Google interview because I thought I'll take some more time, prepare more, and then come back. And then my dad was like, "What's your problem? Why don't you just go and give it?
Try it.
What can happen at
What
max?
can you do?
You won't lose your job, right?
Yeah.
You have your job. Your job's there. Give it a shot. If it goes through, goes through. Doesn't go through, you will learn from it." And that is how I gave the interview. And this is exactly, and it's something that many of us have encountered during our career. Brilliant one. Now let's move to the interview part.
So coming back again, that Raghu asked me to come interview, and I went to first flight and first initial few calls and telephonic interview to pass, and I did it really well because I was in-depth practical. So nothing beats. Again, I want to remind, nothing beats practical, no matter how much you study. So I was very good. I cleared the first round of interviews really well. They said that this guy need to come to an interview. I said okay, one more interview, and I had to go through 9 rounds of interviews in Oracle. 3 of them were from US.
Okay.
From senior people. At middle of the night I had to wake up and do it, and Raghu coached me quite a lot, saying that what is this area, what kind of questions comes in, and again I want to add one more thing here. When you want a mentor, just don't go say that I need your help. Show your passion, have some level of clarity of thoughts what you want to do, because then only when you show your passion, your mentor is able to amplify that. Don't let the mentor do the job for you.
Got it.
Right? You bring your passion 90%, your mentor is going to do that 10%, which is going to be very, very valuable for you.
Right.
So when Raghu said that, I went to the interview, then again I thought I am not going to get this job. As a fun experience, I talked to a few more Americans. I thought that reminded me I used not to speak English well. Oh, I did good English this time. So thank you. I've improved quite a lot. So, and luckily I got a call saying that, oh, you got the job. From
Awesome.
3.5 lakhs to I got a 5 lakh salary. So it was another 50% bump that time. I was like, okay, thank you. Another South Indian city I'm heading. Thank God the same idli upma dosa continues. No change in food.
Just the godly
Exactly.
breakfast in India,
Hyderabad.
to be very honest, right? I still find them the best breakfast ever.
So exactly, best breakfast I could, soulful food idli I can have every day. So I got moved into Hyderabad, a new city to explore. I got my job in, like, coming to Oracle campus was the next big thing. AC offices, nice location in Madhapur, in high-tech city, a lot of fun crowd, young crowd and all those things. And I started going I started my job that time, and I started getting an imposter syndrome. We call imposter syndrome in Google that when you are into a very, very highly qualified crowd, very successful people around you, you start thinking that you are nothing.
Yeah.
And that gave me a next rush. Saying that,
I remember setting up 3 meetings with you to get out of it, remember?
Of course, you remember that. When I hired you at Google, I remember that very well. So, that was a sheer imposter syndrome for me, because every person on the floor, 98% of what there were hired from IITs. Oracle only used to hire from IITs. IITs are the premium institutes of India, where the top-notch people come in, and they are the best of the best. I always appreciate them. But what they had is that they had enough success to get there. I didn't have that. It was very difficult path for me to get into Oracle. That is a lateral experience, and I had to continue that journey. So I worked really, really hard at Oracle at that point of time. I'll tell you that, I didn't feel myself entitled. I said, I've got here. Why wouldn't they fire me in 6 months and 1 year?
Absolutely.
I've never been in software. I got into a core software. I got my product manager job, but you need to be technical enough. You need to know SQL. You need to know a little bit of more, core Java framework, etc. Some languaging skills you need to have. You need to have a little bit of configuration, other technical skills as well, to be in depth into the Oracle ecosystem, databases, etc. You need to know.
So this was your next pivot, where you completely moved from what you were in completely of electronics to a software line, pure software.
This was first software job.
Right.
And that where the confidence was low, but the challenge, I was thrown into some problem that I cannot fail in that. Let's bring it on, right? So, and that is where, and the product company works very cyclic. What happens, like 8 to 9 months, you work really hard for a product release cycle, non-stop, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock you work. After that, 4 or 5 months of, support, next release planning, maintenance, all those things goes on. So what happens, like everybody works very hard up to 8, 9 months. The last 4 or 5 months, people enjoy because they've literally worked really hard. But I decided not to rest, because sitting in Oracle, all the training materials were available. There was many, sandboxes and QA environments were available. So while some of my colleagues were using high-end computing to play games or learn, have some fun, watch movies or whatever it is, I decided to use the material and start learning new stuff. So every day I'll stay hanging there till 2 or 3 o'clock or 1 o'clock. I'll eat dinner there. I'll do some stuff, new learning, unstructured learning, nothing. Learn few these things like a 10 minutes learning of about some manufacturing process, jump into an environment and start looking, configuring it, and start practicing creating some data and running the end-to-end flow. So that's where my kind of journey started. I very quickly got promoted. My salary got almost doubled in like, for 5 lakhs to not even another 50% increase in 1.5 years. Very well recognized, and that's where I was fading off in my Oracle career, because you being in a product company, once you become an expert, they want to hold you on, they want to take you to the next release, grow up on that ladder. And that was giving is that there's no more challenge. I know everything now. In 2 years time I knew everything, multiple modules, etc. That was not exciting me. I'm going to do a feature addition, new things here and there, sitting with the strategy team and engineering team and build some of these things, but it was not groundbreaking at that point of time. So I decided that this was not the career for me. I'm going to go to consulting. I remember that the consulting, I used to work in broad spectrum of things.
Yeah.
Why not go to a consulting thing? And because they will not allow me to put me on a different product at Oracle. So I jumped and I worked in got a boutique Oracle consulting firm. It's called Sierra Atlantic. So I joined as a senior consultant.
Sierra Atlantic, I remember this name.
Sierra Atlantic. So it's a very boutique firm based in US, a very big presence in Hyderabad. So I joined there, and that's where my journey started. Going out of our manufacturing supply chain, learning a lot of other business software in the ERP space and learning some of this stuff. And that's where my international career journey started. So I was, I was assigned to, I went for a couple of months to Singapore. I stayed there and I worked for a company and implemented manufacturing supply chain software. From there, that company really liked me. And they asked Sierra Atlantic, saying that we actually want him to go to Europe, because in Europe we are establishing a new unit, manufacturing unit. We want to implement all the business software there, and this guy has already known our business. He's done really well. Business knows him. Please send him to Europe.
Oh, that's how your move from India to Europe started.
Europe to consulting. Like from Singapore, I came back and then I went to Europe. And that time I didn't earn any money. Much money, but it was like, I was making decent
It's an
enough
experience
money.
in Europe.
Yeah,
right?
from Oracle to the consulting, they paid another 30,
So
40%.
where was
more.
it? Is it like Netherlands or Germany?
It was
or
in
which
Amsterdam.
one?
It was in Amsterdam.
Right.
So I went for a job there, and then I did 6 months implementation there, and Europeans loved me. It again goes by nature, integrating, learning the culture, learning what is important. So basically, at that point of time, I was very fond by that entire unit, the directors, etc. They said that we're going to hire you full time. We want you. I said that I am on a contract. I cannot be hired. This guy will take me to legal and etc. It's not your problem. We'll deal with them. And
Wow.
that time I was working with NetApp. NetApp was a Fortune 1000 company. It was in a storage infrastructure company. It is one of the huge company. It was in a startup mode. I think we were making around $200 to $500 million revenue that time. And NetApp went very, very haywire, very, very big in terms of NAS and SAN, like network data storage systems.
Absolutely.
The second biggest company after EMC. So they said that they are going to hire me. They are going to deal with Sierra Atlantic. And they said Sierra Atlantic, saying that we need this guy. Don't trouble him. He's going to go back. He's going to work for us. We're going to give you threefold business of what you have done, but you're going to release him to us. So I got through this European, the visa making process and everything. And then I got the job, and I was very scared. I didn't want to live in a cold place. Neither my wife wanted to live in a cold place that time. But Europe was beautiful when I traveled there. So I thought that, no, I want to see this land. It's beautiful and I want to get that experience. So I went to Europe and started my job at NetApp. So living in Amsterdam gave me a new challenge in terms of integrating and learning into a place with a very few Indians. In my whole office, around entire building, I think there were like 500 people. There were 2 Indians or 1 Indian, 2 Indians. So one of my friends, Jayalala Sundaram, Tamilian, and me, and he used to teach me a lot how the entire ecosystem works in Netherlands, how Indians are different, how this Dutch culture looks like. I had a lot of learning. I made a lot of good friends. I did phenomenal work in Europe and constantly grew up. My job was very much overlapping with US. US was the headquarters. So I was doing major implementation. They soon recognized in me US that this guy needs to be in a global forum.
So you travel to US then.
So I used to go back and forth in US. Used to be implement global projects where I used to be kind of responsible for European entity, but I used to influence the global project. You cannot implement bits and pieces.
Right.
So that time, one of my directors, one of my managers, Krish and Saroj. Krish was the director. Saroj was a senior manager. They recognized my talent. I used to be very passionate, work late nights, be very involved, adding value, communicating really well, holding the fort here. So they said that, why don't you look for a career in US? We need people like you. Why don't you come over? And I was like, I enjoy Europe so much. I've been traveling here and there. I've traveled everywhere. I had cars and all that time. It was a lot of fun. And I had bought an apartment also there.
In
Europe,
Netherlands?
Netherlands. I used to have a lakeside apartment. It was a very small 2-bedroom apartment, 800, 900, because these properties are very expensive there. But I was like kind of settled. I was thinking, no, why would I sell my apartment? It's a beautiful place. I have a set career. I love this. Out of getting a citizenship. There are 5 years I lived there. But that time I was running out of growth in Europe. Because Europe is a fantastic place, but when it comes to career, it has fewer options. So that time I said that, okay, let me consider a US career, and they actually offered me a job to be a global leader of manufacturing and supply chain systems.
Okay.
And I moved over to US. I took that risk and got a good salary and moved over. And they have sponsored my L1 visa, which is stuck to an employer. You cannot change the jobs.
Yeah. H1B
But I
you
took
can.
the thing. I was never.
So where
worried.
was it in US?
I was in California Bay Area.
Okay.
So in
Bay Area.
Sunnyvale, Santa Clara. I lived in Sunnyvale, Santa Clara throughout my life. I lived in US for 10 years before I moved back to India. So I lived there. So I got the job. Again, NetApp was a very, very good job. When I went there, 2-3 years of amazing work and growth. But again, I was coming to a stale period where, I knew everything, how the company operates. I was doing major things, and I was hitting a career limit of being a manager that time. That time also, from an engineer to manager journey happens. By the way, in between I played many different roles. So I played a product manager's role, and I played after product manager I played a consultant role. In NetApp they hired me as a technical program manager. So where you have technical program management, technical, and a bit of business, and everything was kind of but it was primarily a technical program manager. Transitioned to the engineering manager role in the career, and then I was running the engineering manager, full broad spectrum of engineering management, and then we were basically pivoting towards more core engineering leader aspect of it.
So after NetApp, then comes your change into a different world. Let's talk about that. So how did your move from NetApp happen to when we talked about Fitbit?
True.
And then towards Google. Let's talk about that.
So it's interesting. So when I was in NetApp, I was on L1 visa. So that time the recession hit 2008 and 9.
Oh man.
So I was like, they were offering letters to everybody. The meeting rooms were closed. Nothing you can book. There was water bottle security everywhere. And I thought probably one of those things going away. But I generated a lot of value. That company never thought that throwing me out was the right thing, because I was always productive. I was always working hard. I never compromised on any of the delivery, no matter how many 5 projects also I will take on and I'll deal with it. So God forbid, I saved, my director come to my desk and saying that I have to tell you some news. You are safe. I said, okay, you just saved me from my heart attack. But that career growth that happened, and I was promoted to the next level of management, and then I was offered a very good salary. Even that internal interview was very, very challenging. There was multiple applications, and there were like people who were longer term and were more senior seasoned, and I got that job to be the next level of senior manager. But that time I thought that I'm getting this job. What am I going to do new? Same thing I'm doing. Same thing I'll continue with 20% more job. But in between, I convinced the company to transfer my visa to an H1 visa. Because I was doing really well. I said that do one thing for me, give me an H1 visa. And this one, like during this recession time, there was no much H1 application. So then they decided to apply for my H1. I got an H1. I transferred to H1. So I was not stuck to an employer. I still thank NetApp for being such a good, equitable employer. This was one of the best place to work in terms of culture and all. NetApp made me a very good person over the period of time. I always owe my colleagues and seniors at NetApp for making me a better leader, making me a better person in my life, teaching me culture, equity, how to treat with different DEI communities and all. A phenomenal company. We were Fortune #1 company to work for during that period. Not Google, we were that time #1 Fortune best place to work during those years in 2008 and 9. So
So in this whole transition, so
yeah,
this doesn't happen now. Does it happen like you can convert your L1 to H1?
it happens,
It
if,
happens?
but it's like your employers don't want to do. That's why I'm thanking that
Okay.
NetApp allowed me to do that, because it's a spend. They don't want to lose you, but it's a very equitable employer. They do the right thing, so they helped me with that. My managers helped me with that because I was giving them value. I never slacked, and I was always bringing my full passion myself in that. So after I got the H1, when I got promoted, I got good salary. I was saying I'm not going to do anything. That stopped my rush inside, and I started looking for a job. And I was very aggressive that time, but very toned, very matured, and I learned how to control my anger that time. And I was like, if I get anger, take deep breaths, do some exercise, do some meditation, come back, pull back, and think rationally and move forward. So
Got it.
that helped me structure quite a lot of my anger, channelizing my anger to outcomes. Convert into passion, convert into an energy that can be spread, right? So that's where I started looking for a job. I got multiple startup jobs that time. Fitbit really liked me. I went for an interview. Very interesting thing. Fitbit. I got few other startup jobs as well.
You
Fitbit.
still own a Fitbit watch,
I
if I'm
still own.
not
I'm a lifelong Fitbit fan.
Oh,
And
is it?
I have lifelong. Fitbit is part of Google, by the way, but I joined Fitbit pre-acquisition.
Okay.
So in Fitbit, I went for an interview. It is downtown San Francisco, blood rush. From coming from suburban Sunnyvale to go to take a train
It's
and go
far,
to
it's
San
far.
Francisco. It was San Francisco as a city as its vibe and swag. I went for the interview. Very smart people and young people holding very big positions, because you know how startups are, right? And they're very cutthroat than a very seasoned company like
Enterprise.
NetApp Enterprise. And I went there. I had a lot of passion. I had a lot of swag that time. I went to an interview and I met with very, very senior people. I remember a couple of people, right? So Kevin Purser is one of the very senior person, came from industry like Cisco and all. Raman Edwards, he works in Google as well. These people were like the best of the best. They were good at their work. They had a swag, and you lose your confidence when you see them.
Absolutely. That is the place where you want to
You
work
want to
also.
be. And these guys were taking, they were all directors, they were taking my interview, and they started asking me questions. Fix us this software. What do we have problem? We want to implement this. What are we doing right? We are going to do this. Tell me. I started listening deeply. I went ahead with my the marker and went to the board. I stood up and I said that everything you are doing is wrong. And I had the courage to tell them everything you are doing is wrong. Everything you are doing, you are going to a ditch in 6 months' time. And they were looking at me, how dare you come for an interview, you are telling me everything is wrong. I started drawing, saying that these are your failure points in supply chain. This is where you will fit it in obsolete. This is where you have not implemented your demand planning software right. Where is your NPI solution is coming in? How do you do your, what is your distribution strategy in this case? I don't see all of these things. You have not figured out what you're doing. You'll stitch everything together. It is all going to fail.
This is such a good advice to youngsters.
Yeah.
Like, if you know your if you know what has to be done, don't stop it. Just say it on the face, and it helps you, because this takes courage, man, to talk to people and tell them that this is how it is going to land you if you don't do it correctly.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of courage to
Yeah.
tell it to big shots, right? That
Exactly.
this is what has happened after this when you joined Fitbit, right?
Yeah.
So obviously we
I got the job. By the
You
way, I
would have
got the
cracked
job.
it.
I actually, I started taking the interview that time. I started taking the interview that time, and it was fun for them because they were all like, I remember Raman and me had very deep conversations, and I asked him to explain what he was doing, how he was doing demand planning. I told him 5 things that was wrong, and that guy was very smart, and I look up to him, and he actually liked him. He didn't give me a feel that I was telling the right thing because he was holding his position, but I got the interview, and he told me that afterwards he told me that a couple of things were right. I need your help to get it fixed. So I got the job, but Fitbit was full of swag. You are in between very, very smart people, aggressive people, and you need to succeed. And there were external consulting companies coming from Accenture, PwC, Deloitte's of the world, and you hold a position to implement a brand new software completely from ground up. So I did hold a big portion of the implementation, and it was phenomenally successful. So the CIO was looking upon me. The track that I was running was phenomenally successful, and I was a bit aggressive leader that time, right? So aggressive leader, they're not culturally aggressive, but we're like, we are coming here to make a difference. We're not sleeping here. We're not taking a back step. We are getting things done, and we are doing that like no one has ever done it. So this is what the practical experience means that time, because you are not bullshitting. You know what you're doing, and you have been deep into the thing, and it is in best interest to protect your company. You're not doing any shallow things or shortcut things, which will company will pay a big price. We'll do it really well. We'll do it very good. Our names would be engraved forever. So that time Fitbit went through a phenomenal growth. I was there 1.5 years. I got promoted to a director at Fitbit, but I said that no, I want to do experience something. I always passively look for jobs because I'm not like really changing. It was feeding me, but I always passively look for jobs. Then I got a call from, and by the way, I did 3 Google interviews and I didn't get job. Fourth one, I got the job in Google. So at that time I had 2 parallel Google interviews going on. One was with Google hardware team, which is like our devices like Pixels or Nest products, etc. That was one division I was going through interview. And Google had the self-driving company entity. It's called Waymo. Pretty much Google, the financials were different. We sit in the Google same building, same Google email ID and everything, but we were making self-driving cars that time. So both the entities were, since they were like a little bit different, they were both approaching. At one point of time, the interview was still there. You are in the system, you have to choose one of the interview that you want to go through, because we cannot, at a stage, you want to choose one first. So I chose Waymo because it was very, very futuristic. It was startup that I want to go from Fitbit to another crazy startup where everything is delusional. But the engineering work or the adrenaline rush that I was going to get was amazing. So the role was kind of a acting CIO role. The CFO wanted to hire. My CFO's name is Jed Dwyer. He played a very big role in my life. Jay is something who reminded me my father. He was very, I wouldn't say angry person. I was always fearful when I saw Jay. He was he was from Ireland. He was very straightforward. He was very good at his work. And you have to face through him. He was an exec leader, and I was very, very afraid. So I again went through a lot of interview. And he asked me very, very critical questions in this interview process about business, how I think about it, and somehow I was also very practically, I answered him, and he really liked me. There was another interview, another mentor was Santosh Srinivasan. He's the CIO for Google hardware business, and he took one of the amazing interviews where it was for 1.5 hours. I was there with Santosh.
That's
I took a lunch in between. It was 2 hours of interview. The questions he asked, I can't forget. He asked me to set up a modular pixel phone business, and he said that now why the company would not be successful, and this is now scrapping. How do you deal with the team and all? Right from technical, he took me to leadership and asking me business aspects, how would I deal with it. So I phenomenally cleared that interview. I was still thinking that why such a big startup. Waymo was, is a very big startup company, was spending billions of dollars. This is the biggest bet in Alphabet or Google, right? So why would they hire like a CIO position for me? It was the first position to somebody to come in and set up the entire infrastructure from ground up, hire and set up the entire thing. So I somehow got the job. But when I joined the job, I thought it's a 3-month thing. Somehow they were mistaken. They've hired me. I'm not going to succeed. I was the first person. There was no one. Before that, all this big consulting company has done a lot of analysis and left a lot of slides. And I went there and they said me that you have to produce a strategy in 2 months' time and you are facing CEO. And my boss, Jer, he was very particular. He was helping me, but he was very strict. And he said that you have to produce in 60 days, 15 days, your honeymoon period is over. Produce me a strategy of entire our org strategy for our infrastructure, CIO, go to market, all the manufacturing, supply chain, business software, and you produce a strategy. I took that challenge very well, and he coached me in between. He pivoted my personality, how to face C-suite. And I was good at my work. I figured out everything. I remember that consulting company left around 200 slides. And I present my execs only 12 slides, saying that this is where we are, this is our company's vision is, and this is what we need to do from a technical infrastructure perspective, go there. This is my hiring strategy. This is what my phase is. Aligned with business, this is how I'm going to stand up the infrastructure for this one. So that was a very, very good pivotal moment for me, converting to an acting CIO for Waymo and hiring the entire team. I landed around 30 programs without a single fail.
Wow.
At Waymo within 3.5
That's
years.
commendable.
Within 3.5 years.
So people who don't know Waymo, search for Waymo. It's the next gen automotive driving autonomous driving systems, and there are a lot of videos. Just watch through that, and it's amazing. You
and
should watch.
everybody kind of you all are fascinated about chat gpt, and Waymo's machine learning and AI we do it. I think it was that time 3x of entire Google, because the
Yeah,
car
I know.
takes 3 decisions in a millisecond. Everything is processed through 6 different camera, 20 different sensors, and being produced in a supercomputer that is locally within the car and take 3 milliseconds. Because on the road the car driving itself is very vulnerable. You have to take a lot of decision than flying a aeroplane. Once you are there, you are just wavering, you are just, there's no
The
obstacles
lot
finally.
of uncertainty of moving objects and all
Uncertainty.
of that.
So it was phenomenal career, and this was my nine and a half years in US. And my family always wanted to head back to India because of parental pressure. They were getting older. We always, our roots were deep within. So that's where I took a chance and took an internal transfer to come to Google Cloud.
That's where we want to stop this episode. We will discuss a lot about how and why he came back to India, and what are the decision making processes that he took when he had to come back to India, because we know for sure that coming back to India is not a easy process.
It was not
Because
easy thing. I didn't sleep for
we
many
will
nights.
we will
Exactly.
discuss this in our next episode. Let's get deeper into that. We would not spend much time, 15 minutes on that, for people who actually want to move from US to India, pros and cons, decision making
Or
process,
anywhere in the part,
anywhere
anywhere
in the world. So how do you take the decision? We will see you in the next episode, which is primarily driven around how do you come back to India. So right
and why
now,
you should come back to
why
India
you
now.
should come back to India right now, and why
Yeah.
is this the best time?
I had
So-
a phenomenal career. I'll talk about also that what I faced against the odds to come back. I had phenomenal offers even jumping outside of Google.
Wow.
Yeah.
We'll discuss that
Yeah.
in depth. For till then, bye bye. We'll see you next episode.